Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into some absolutely fascinating and frankly, highly provocative material from the teachings and writings of Life Chanyuan guide Shufeng. The title of the specific work we're unpacking is The Simplest and Most Direct Way to Become a Saint. Now, when most of us hear the word saint, we instantly picture a lifetime of grueling devotion, maybe living in total isolation, or having some kind of superhuman morality, right? But the teachings we're about to look at present an incredibly bold, super straightforward premise about human potential. It literally flips that whole traditional idea totally on its head. Let's get right into it.
Right out of the gate, Shufeng opens with this fundamental, kind of audacious question. Can a person become a saint? For most of us, our gut reaction might be to say, well, no, or to just assume that a title like that is completely reserved for a select few historical figures. But the source material answers this question with a resounding, enthusiastic, of course. It challenges those preconceived notions immediately. It's essentially inviting us to view sainthood not as some impossible, distant pedestal, but as a completely achievable state of being for literally anyone.
So, you're probably wondering, how exactly does one achieve this? Well, Shufeng provides a surprisingly simple answer. The text states that the most direct way to become a saint is simply to consider how to make other people's lives better than one's own. That's it. It is a profound, total shift in focus. The teaching emphasizes that once a person genuinely thinks this way, and crucially, actually acts on this thought, they have become a saint. It distills the ultimate spiritual achievement down to just one hyper-focused directive of pure altruism. Action over scripture. Let's take a look at how this builds into a really radical departure from conventional religious frameworks. The teachings of Life Chanyuan make it crystal clear that this path is specifically designed to bypass the traditional, often super complex expectations of organized religion. Think about it. Humanity has historically relied on painstakingly studying the Bible, the Buddhist scriptures, the Tao Te Ching, the Quran, or worshiping masters and listening to the teachings of deities and great sages. But Shufeng explicitly dismisses the necessity of all of that. Instead, he presents a singular requirement, simply thinking of how to make others' lives better than your own and taking actions consistent with that goal. The contrast here is staggering. It completely strips away all the ritual, the dogma, the hierarchy, and replaces the whole shebang with a purely actionable form of empathy.
Now, the author knows exactly how controversial this sounds. The text adopts a very conversational, almost playful, and highly challenging tone right here. Shufeng actually asks if anyone doubts this radically simple paradigm and follows it up with this quote, "Come on, fight with me and see if you can win." It's such a fascinating rhetorical device. By issuing this really confident challenge, the text invites the reader to critically examine their own definitions of righteousness, just to see if they can find a flaw in the logic that pure actionable altruism is the highest human achievement.
Section 2. The root of corruption. Because, of course, if the path is so simple, why isn't the world just packed full of saints? Well, if altruism is the mechanism for sainthood, the text argues that human selfishness is the actual engine of our downfall.
To really drive this point home, Shufeng leans into a highly specific and, honestly, very provocative claim. 95%. The source states that if you were to go to any prison and speak to officials who are locked up for corruption, malfeasance, or bribery, you would find that 95% of them fell from grace for one exact reason. They all share a single defining motivation that drove their actions.
And that crucial point, that motivation, is this exact thought. How can I live a more comfortable life than others? Notice how this is the exact inverse of the saintly thought we discussed earlier. According to the teachings, transforming this specific selfish desire into action is the literal root of criminality and corruption. It's that desire to elevate yourself above the community, prioritizing your own personal comfort over collective well-being, that ultimately leads to a person's downfall.
The text then takes a really fascinating psychological detour to explain how this selfishness actually manifests in society, specifically when it comes to wealth. It breaks down why people simultaneously envy and hate wealthy individuals. Envy of the rich stems directly from that selfish desire. People envy the wealthy because they want to live that exact same comfortable life. Conversely, hate of the rich occurs because the wealthy make others uncomfortable. They represent a lifestyle that most people suddenly realize they will probably never have. It's a remarkably sharp observation of human nature, driven entirely by comparison.
Building on all of this, the source outlines the severe consequences of harboring this desire for a more comfortable life. According to Shufeng, all people holding on to this desire are committing crimes, even if it's only mentally for now. And if you pay attention to their words and actions, they are on a direct road to actual criminal behavior. Furthermore, the text makes a very specific socio-political connection here. It notes that, according to the teachings, those who strongly slander and oppose the communist mode of production and life are fundamentally driven by this exact same selfish desire. They simply want to live more comfortably than the rest of us. So we're seeing how the source material directly links personal selfishness to both broad criminality and specific political opposition.
Section 3. Choosing your life's direction. Having established this incredibly stark dichotomy between the path of the saint and the path of the corrupt, the text moves toward its ultimate philosophical conclusion regarding what it calls the realm of life.
Which naturally brings us to the overarching question: why should we become saints? Right? If the whole world is driven by competition and this intense desire for comfort, what is the ultimate payoff for choosing this radically altruistic path? This question really forces us to refocus on the true goal of Xu teachings.
The answer provided lies in the spiritual safety and the ultimate destination promised to those who choose this path. The text explains that this is a matter of realm, meaning one's ultimate life direction. A saint, someone totally dedicated to making others' lives better, will certainly not do evil, and because of this, they are guaranteed not to degenerate into hell. Instead, achieving this realm is the absolute certainty of the life of heaven. It presents a logical, almost transactional guarantee. Pure altruism directly equals spiritual salvation.
To really hammer this home, the author uses some truly striking, incredibly poetic metaphors. Listen to this. Life is short. A century is a single frame in a movie. No matter how we try to grab something, it ends up being in vain. And then there's this beautifully vivid question. Why compete for the space of a snail's antler or contend for a flash of light? These metaphors brilliantly highlight the massive contrast between the fleeting brevity of human life and the absolute triviality of our selfish worldly pursuits. I mean, why fight so bitterly over something as wildly insignificant as the space on a snail's antler? Which leaves us with the text's final, lingering question. Why not become a saint instead? Seriously, think about it. If life is incredibly short, if chasing personal comfort only leads to corruption and spiritual peril, and if the alternative is as unbelievably simple as just focusing on making other people's lives better, why not choose that? It's a powerful conclusion that takes this lofty, ancient concept and places it squarely in the palms of our own hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll leave you with this final thought. If sainthood is simply a matter of shifting your daily focus toward the betterment of others, what's stopping you from starting right now?